Sam, is there something different about you? Is there something different about you in this video, in this lift? You're goddamn right there is. I got a new hat. I replaced the old one. It was getting a little sweaty, so yeah, it's more of a fresher look there. Nah, come on, I'm just kidding. A goddamn, well, let's just say in the barber shop today, there may as well have been a slightly smaller than average brown Pomeranian spread across my feet with the amount of hair that got trimmed off. I've had enough. I've had my fill of the long hair for this season. And it comes and goes. I mean, I got a haircut in January, so it's only been 10 months. I kind of thought it was a little longer than that. I've been on kind of a one cut a year type deal. Usually at the middle-ish or end of a dieting phase is a good cue for me, because I like when I'm leaner, I just kind of like the shorter hair, a little more of a sharp look. But it will have no bearings on how well this leg day goes, and specifically this hamstring focused leg day. I'm gonna for the rest of this dieting phase, or at least for these next few weeks, I'm gonna try a hamstring focus day and a quad focus day, just because I mean, legs get fucking stressed, you know. And I'm not saying that in general. I'm saying my legs get stressed, you know. So if I do a full-on heavy leg press workout for quads, the next leg day, even though that was 4 days later, like more than half a week, I can still feel it just a touch. So what that tells me is that rate of intensity is a little much, and I could do one of two things, right? Alternate really heavy, insane quad days with a lighter squeezing one of like leg extensions, or you could just say do legs less frequently. You know, do legs once a week, do legs whatever. But I don't know. That's not the route that I think is. Well, maybe it's just personal preference, and science isn't really holding a strong bound over that decision. But I think I just want to do, or at least try, a hamstring focus day, more hip hinging stuff like today, and the next leg day might be a little more sparse on the hamstring, at least the hamstring direct work. So it might only be, you know, I could see even just 4 sets of leg curls if they were good. And if I really kill it on leg press or Smith machine squats or like pendulum squats, you do get some hamstring activation during those pressing movements. I think especially during the leg pressing movements, to the point where, you know, if the hamstrings direct work is a little eased up, but the quad movements are really overloaded, then, you know, I'm getting almost more of a functional finisher on my hamstrings. That'd almost be like doing, well, it's like doing back and buys. You know, your biceps may get a little bit pre-fatigued from your back workout, so you might not need as much volume for the rest of your bicep portion to really finish pumping them up. For me, that doesn't really feel as good though, because if I do curls after a back day, I kind of feel like my biceps are just kind of fatigued, not really working on their way to being pumped. Whereas with the hamstrings on the quad movements, I mean, having a hamstring pump before leg press, before squats, before even leg extensions, because, you know, when your hamstrings are pumped up, it does make them a little more plush in a way. They're not kind of giving you more of a cushioning effect, so it just kind of feels better. So I don't think I'm ever going to switch from doing at least some sort of hamstring movements before quads, to the point where even if it was a day where I didn't even want to do hamstrings, like let's say today was a quad only day for whatever reason, that was like the schedule, I would still do a couple sets of you know, hamstring movements like RDLs, or more like leg curls, laying or seated, just to get them warmed up, so that when I move on to quads, it just feels better. You know, that's like how for chest, before I even get onto an inclined Smith to start warming up with a plate, I'm going to be sitting on the cables doing some rotator cuff activation, some push downs, some front raises, some kind of cross body presses, just to make sure everything feels good. Well, it's kind of a chest, well, obviously it's chest, but it's kind of a checklist type situation, you know. So I think there is merit, because a lot of guys will say this, like, you're wasting your time warming up. And what they mean by that is like, sitting on the treadmill for 15 minutes at a slow pace, kind of, maybe rolling out, stretching. Like there's a certain amount of preparation before a specific targeted, muscle-based workout like we're doing, like bodybuilding style. But it shouldn't exceed too much longer than 10 or so minutes. A lot of body parts, at least for me, the movement's warm-up is that movement itself. Before I do leg extensions, I don't have to warm up with sissy squats. I just do light leg extensions and then increase weight slowly. Before I do heavy hamstring curls, I just do light hamstring curls, So even though I think there is merit to not taking too long to warm up, there is a certain amount which is going to give you let's just say a safer lift, or a higher probability of a safer lift, which that is one of my key that's one of my key goals in these workouts, because I know now that every time I pull something, every time I tweak something, that's just putting me 3 steps behind. So apart from my my mindset of making sure I go absolutely nuts, I do have a better scope of the longevity of this kind of training, to the point where maybe I don't need to slap 2 45-pound plates onto the side of the laying leg curl and overload like an insane heavy fucking set. Maybe that's not exactly what I need to do, but we'll just go from there. So let's jump in there, and movement number 1 will be either seated hamstring curls or laying. Seated or laying. Which one I end up picking, well, that might just have to do with who's on what. Or, well, no point in guessing now. I'll have that answer in 0.1 seconds. Let's do a nice classic heavy one, but heavy within reason. Oh my god, okay. Oh. That's a little too heavy. Let's make this one a touch lighter with more of a squeeze emphasis. Good opener though. Okay. Oh. One more like that. Okay. Oh. I was about to say I want to do an RDL next, but let's do one more. And I'm giving myself some assistance in the last 5. This is too good to move on from. But next is a hip hinge of some variety. Okay. Okay. Now it's time for an RDL. Jeez. I love this fucking machine. 2 plates is enough. And those sets of hamstrings were pretty fucking damaging. Plus, there's another aspect to consider when it comes to how much weight you should use for a specific movement, and that's on a movement by movement basis, is if you pick a weight that's too heavy, even though you would think, okay, more weight, more tension, more activation, not always the case, right? Because if you pick a weight that's too heavy without, or, going beyond reason for nice isolation work for whatever muscle you're targeting, then your body's going to say, okay, well, I'm trying to do a 4-plate RDLs here. Hamstrings alone aren't going to cut it. I got to start flexing my cheeks, slamming my lower back and my lats. And instead of making this a pretty isolative hamstring movement, I'm working my entire posterior chain, top to bottom. And it's like, what am I doing here? Hamstrings or back? So 2 plates is about the limit. At least for this level of fatigue. Sometimes 3 is within reason, but 2 for this one. Okay. Ooh. That's a good one. Oh, okay. I think I gotta call it there. Those last 3 reps on that weight, I was really starting to squeeze my glutes. I think some leg curls might be a good finisher. My hamstrings have been weakened. I didn't even think I could do a regular rep with the stack. So instead 95, touch less, this will be a squeezing burnout. So I'll do as many reps, normal, controlled as possible. And once I get too fatigued to do a perfect rep, or at least a normal rep, I'm gonna start using some body language and just really burn them out. But this is the last one necessary. Okay. Oh, that's enough. 7 sets later, hams are cooked. Let's have a little bit of quads. But the brunt of the workout's over. Quads is going to be a little more minimal. All right, even though in the car I was saying, I would never do just a hamstring. Yeah, after a couple sets of leg extensions, I could still feel a little bit of residual quad fatigue, which in a bulking phase is not really going to concern me. Right? If I'm beefing up and my quads are maybe a little bit extra sore that one day, I know I'm about to have a fucking 2,000 calorie post-workout meal and like pre-night meal. I can kind of get through it. But I don't want to over fatigue myself dieting, which I'm a little bit more stringent with, right? Because I mean, physically, I got less energy to work with. You know, it's almost more of a, it's almost more marathon-ish, right? With the dieting, it's almost one day of not totally stressing out my knees and quads might actually do me good. But bulking wise, I'm a little more strict on myself. And I'm still probably a little too crazy with the no rest days. I'm sure that might change eventually. But for now, let's just make this a nice little hamstring quad recovery day. And by quad recovery, I mean just not quad obliteration. And see how they're looking. So this would be quads unpumped, hamstrings pumped. A rare sight. Typically, it's usually both or nothing. But let's see. Still some decent quad separation. Honestly, probably more than if I were actually, like extra fucking lean or extra fucking pumped. Because the more pumped your quads are, the less defined they actually are. Because, they get kind of swollen and all these little bits of intra whatever separation start to actually kind of just blend together instead of really popping like they are now. So probably can't really see it that well, but this quad especially, this whole little outside kind of edge, I do get a little bit of feathering creeping up. Not insane, I'm not that lean yet, but enough where I'm actually getting fucking excited. But let's see how hamstrings look pumped. Boy. So that's what I'm aiming for, this big roundness on the back, which honestly almost isn't as impressive when it's pumped, because your hamstrings are the same thing as your quads. They get a little less separated the more inflated with blood that they actually are. But quads are looking pretty cool. And this is only barely 3.5 weeks into a deficit. So I can expect some pretty serious quad veins, striations, and everything else in between as time progresses. But quad focus pump for next leg day, which will be much more brutal, right? I'm talking leg press, I'm talking Smith squat. Well, I'm talking leg press. We'll see. Let's actually get just a touch brighter. Yeah, perfect. All done. Little hamstring action, all freaking complete. So yeah, I think the heftier quad day and then the slightly less insane hamstring focus day will be the plan. But I guess that's actually going to start next leg day with a nice and fresh set of quads, which, depending on the severity, may simply warrant a rest day. I'm not a massive rest day taker. I mean, if you go back and look at all these freaking videos, there's not a million rest days, but I still do take them on rare occasion, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure you can look up like Sam Sulek rest day. There is one in there. Let me get us a little bit brighter in here. Yeah, there's rest days. I take them, but what I don't like is people taking rest days beyond when they're really necessary. And that's for you to find out. I mean, that's for you to know. You're in control of your training, or you're talking to your trainer and you're coming up with your plan, your routine and everything. But a rest day can be taken with, good intention, but with not really the most necessary reasons. Right now, I'm feeling a little off. My head's not really in it today. I'll take a rest day. But it's like, was that rest day actually necessary, or did you just not want to work out? So that's where, that's the line, right? And I want to ride that line. I do not want to be the kind of guy who simply has a little bit of difficulty in getting amped up for the workout and then say to myself, I'm not really feeling it. Oh, I'm not feeling it. I just don't have to go. Yippee! Guess how many gains that guy is going to make over the course of that year, over the course of however many years. Not as much as the guy who is going to tell himself, okay, ooh, I'm not really feeling it today. Whatever, do it anyway. You know, and that's not like a hard-headedness, like, you know, force yourself no matter what. But there is a certain level of tolerance that you have to be able to have for, you know, uncomfortability with your training, so that you can keep pushing yourself in that green zone. You know, when it comes to training intensity, I've said this a couple times, there's a good kind of analogy that, I guess this is like a triple quote, because it was like Dorian Yates, there's a clip of Dorian Yates saying this, but really he's just talking about when Mike Menser said this. But it's basically, you know, unless you, well, for any more country boys out there, right, you can't shoot a thing of tannerite with a 22, might not go off, right? You need to hit it with something with enough force and impact to actually trigger that reaction. And it's the same thing with gains, you know, at least like higher level pursued gains. Just working out at all is tremendous. I mean, there's all sorts of studies. The studies which I actually like to hear are the ones about kind of just baseline general fitness, right? I mean, like studies where there's this one girl I just saw a clip of where she is saying the effect on people's glycemic index, which is like their blood sugar, right? How well regulated their blood sugar is throughout the day, is improved like twofold from doing 10 body weight squats an hour throughout the whole day. And this is for like an adult. It's twice as effective to do that than to purely do like a 30-minute walk. You know, like little things like that I think are much more important to get people in the know about, because anybody who's really trying to kill it gains wise, they know they're trying to kill it, right? I think it's like the 80-20 rule. You know, you can get 80% of the results with kind of 20% of the knowledge and like the workload, right? That's kind of that's a little bit of a factor when it comes to lifting. Now, whether or not that number is exactly right, whatever, but it's close. You know, you can go to the gym, and if you work out every day, or like 5 days a week, you know, let's say you take the weekend, let's say you take Sunday and Wednesday off, you do like a two-day kind of thing. Even if that's all you did, and when you went to the gym, you know, all you did was some basic, you know, maybe a set of curls. Oh, I feel like doing some leg extensions. Maybe I'll do a couple, you know, row machines. Like just kind of, you know, going in and meandering. Right? And I'm saying, you know, push yourself a little bit, but just by walking around, getting some weight-based exposure like that, that just puts you ahead of the curve from, you know, the herd of people who don't work out at all pretty fucking far, right? Now, for guys who are, you know, real nutcases about it, right, more bodybuilder-ish, like this is your thing, you want to take this fucking extreme, you're really locking yourself in, that's where that amount of effort is just not going to work. But that's, you know, your effort should kind of match where your goals are at. So for the general public, I say everybody should be getting at least a minor pump on the regular. Even if it's just like, you know, coming to the gym for a 30-minute full body thing. Like if all you did was maybe every couple days after work, you came into the gym, did like a set of leg extensions, set of leg curls, some rows, maybe, you know, a couple tricep push downs or some curls or something. That's sick compared to nothing. But if you want crazy legit fucking gains, then we all know that's not going to work. You know, your training intensity can't be a 3. It can't be a 4 if you want as much muscle stimulus as you can give yourself. So that's where, you know, most of your sets, you really should lock yourself in and get excited for them. But sometimes it gets a little tricky if some things outside of the gym aren't really, you know, in your favor. Which some of that is in your control, some of that's out of your control. Right? That's the part which really sucks, because you almost have no choice but to accept random shit that happens. And that's just not lifting, that's everything. But you're crying over the milk you spilled if you're complaining to yourself like, oh crap, dude, I feel like shit, I'm so fucking tired. Why did I stay up till 3 a.m. on zombies last night? Man, I got a fucking headache. Well, I drank a lot today. I had a Monster in the morning. I had a Coke Zero at lunch. You see what I'm saying? So things that are within your fucking realm of control, if you're complaining about it that day, and I hear this all the time. I mean, I hear, oh dude, I didn't sleep at all. holy crap, I stayed up all night doing whatever. Oh, dude, I'm not drinking enough water. Like, it's so often the case, guys are just complaining about their current state, not because of like something they did years ago, but just because of things that they didn't do even within a 24-hour period. So when I see that and I combine it with the fact that, okay, I want all my lifts to be fucking stellar, right? I want to have good pumps. I want to be pushing myself hard. I want to enjoy the effort and not have it feel like just work, which when you don't get enough sleep and you're tired and you're dehydrated, working out can start to feel like work because you're not having fun. You know, you're gonna run as hard as you fucking can if you're in a race with one of your friends, or like as a kid and you're just playing around, right? If it's just you and there's no game, you know, it's not gamified, it's not nothing, why would you expect to just run fucking full tilt? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's where, okay, I want my lifts to be legit. I want to go hard. I want to get the gains that will result from going hard. Like, I want it. But I don't want it enough to go to bed on time. I don't want it enough to, you know, drink at least 3 or so liters of water a day with some electrolytes. You know, I don't want it enough to make sure I hit my protein goals. And it's, even though that might not be something that these guys are saying to themselves, you know, your actions are going to speak much louder than your words when it comes to your training and your results. And not much louder, infinitely louder. Because when it comes to fucking, you know, lifting and locking in or making a crazy fat loss transformation or bulking up or getting stronger or anything that comes with it, talk is, I can't even think of something that's as cheap as talk when it comes to working out. Oh, dude, this summer I'm gonna be diced this summer, bro. Dude, I'm bulking up this summer. I'm gonna start hitting the gym. And I'm saying this from experience, right? I said the same shit when I was younger. When I did gymnastics, there's like competition season and then just practice season. You know, winter time was competition, so that's when we'd go and you know, you'd go up against all sorts of different teams. I'm talking like double backflips on the spring floor or whatever. But in the summertime, that's when we'd always tell each other, or at least me and one of my teammates, Michael, I'd always tell him for like 2 summers in a row, which is kind of a long fucking time. I mean, years. I would, you know, I'd always say, all right, this summer I'm gonna start working out. I'm gonna start working out when I get back and, you know, really start beefing up. And just never did it. Now I was kind of just, you know, talking because I didn't have a license at the time. You know, I couldn't drive myself to the gym, and all I had in the basement was, you know, dumbbells. So but I've been there. Right? We've all been there when you're just talking about it, and the talk is talk. You know, and we all know guys like that. I don't see him as much now. And it's maybe just because I'm not at school anymore. My school gym was fucking packed with everybody. A lot more chit-chat going around. At regular kind of public gyms, you know, your gym bros are a little more sparse. They're a little tougher to come by. If you're working out at a college gym right now because you're in school, you better fucking enjoy it. I know that I have to, you know, I even reminded myself to enjoy it back when I was working out over there because it's nice. I mean, basically 50 or 60 regulars, all your age, all just fucking into the same shit you're into. It's, I mean, it really is a social circle. And once you get off on your own in the real world, unless you got like a really serious gym where you, you know, where you train at, where you're buddies with everybody, and that's kind of the vibe, you don't come across that often. So, getting back to what I was saying, you know, just the guys who talk about it, the guys who try to convince you about what they're going to do later and how hard they're going to push themselves. If that guy actually was going to do that, he wouldn't need to tell you. He'd be excited to just show you the results as he gets them, you know? So it's kind of it's sort of like a subconscious self-defense. You know, you start to exclaim to the universe all your weaknesses in reverse. You know, dude, I'm going to start bulking up. 2025 is my year. Anybody who is really locked in, anybody who's a serious nutcase about the working out, they don't have to say that. They just do it. So that's kind of where you can have a little bit of a BS reader. Oh, you're going to do 6,000 calories a day, man? You're already doing 5,000 a day? How much do you weigh? 180? You've been doing 5,000 calories a day for the last 6 months? You have got a fast metabolism. But keep going. You know, So for those of you who, get what I'm saying, that's just, all right, man, keep going, man, you're good. Get after it. Right? The guys who are really getting into it, they don't have to say that, because they're excited to see their own results, and they're excited for them because they get to see them, and the show-offy part, that's cool. I mean, it definitely gets you, it's definitely kind of a motivating factor for sure, but that's just with being good at anything. If you're the smartest kid in class, it's cool. If your project gets shown as like the example when you were a kid in art school, that's cool, right? Being good at anything in like a slightly public space, even just as small as a classroom, I mean, it's just fucking cool. But that shouldn't be all you're chasing. The guys in your school who were always, drawing, they were getting into, they were like, I'm gonna be an artist, I'm gonna be whatever. They didn't need to show that shit off to everybody. They're doing it because they liked it, they enjoyed the process, and then, dude, the guy's making bank doing whatever he's doing, which in some cases may be, what was I about to say? Well, like, online commission-based stuff or whatever. But, they're not just doing things for pure, like, public notoriety or satisfaction. And that's getting back to, that's kind of digging real deep to, like, what are your core motivations for, taking action, right? It's because you want to show off to everybody else around you. You want to be, part of the in-crew. It's, that's its own thing. And everybody's going to have a different upbringing like that. I think about that a lot. And I especially do now, because my workouts are very, I feel like I perceive them a little bit differently now, because it's no longer just me, and I get to bring you guys along. We're coming with me. We've got a lot more internal dialogue that's being spoken than I used to think, which I think has been actually pretty good for me, because it really highlights a lot of points that I need to adjust with my training, and it kind of exposes all of its weak points. So honestly, I do think having this kind of community built up does help my training, because anytime I'm doing something crazy, I get to hear about it, and that's a good thing. But it's also like, okay, well, now there's this outside force. Is that making me work out harder, or is it making me take it easy? I would think it's making me go a little bit harder, but if it's if you have anything that's in your subconscious, you don't know that. It's in your subconscious. But that's that's its own thing. But if you can get in tune with some of your kind of core motivators and really try to amplify them, I do think it's going to improve your training, or at least your, like, kind of the fire that's burning in your fucking belly to get you to train. So that's where the guys who aren't instantly posting their workout journey, I think sometimes might have a little bit more of a pure mindset approach with it, because that's where all the gains are made. Oh yeah, I remember what I was about to say a second ago. Because as much as you might want to talk about what you're doing and show off, like, okay, I'm going to do this, 99% of all this working out shit, it's done alone. It's done with you and your workouts. You're the one who knows how hard you're going every set, and nobody else knows it. You could fake it. I mean, I see it a lot. Fake failure, right? It really kind of really does not get me going when I know somebody could do 10 more reps of like a leg press or something, and then I watch them try to like fake struggle the last one and then re-rack it, which, depending on your experience, might not be a fake struggle, of course. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean guys who have been lifting for long enough to know better, where it's like, okay, your last 3 reps had a pretty good tempo, but that one suddenly was the failure rep. Makes me a little bit suspicious. But you're the one who knows. You're the one who has to either stick to your calorie deficit or catch yourself walking into the freezer and destroying half of your vanilla ice cream tub, right? And I tell you something, I've been there as well, so it's kind of a you versus you situation. So if you can get in tune with, okay, why do I want to do this? What do I enjoy about this? And how far am I willing to go to push this? It doesn't have to be working out. That could be anything, right? But if you can start to have that kind of internal dialogue of like, okay, what do I want to do? How hard am I willing to go with it? What am I capable of doing? And what level of effort am I at right now? Because, I mean, we've all been there. I've had scrappy lifts where afterward I think to myself, what the fuck? What am I doing? not as much recently, but I mean, back when I was kind of coming up, I'd have like a scrappy chest day, or even just do a couple scrappy sets will be enough to trigger this kind of thought process. And I think, like, I can go harder than this, and I want to go harder than this. Why am I not? And it's kind of like an open your eyes to the reality type situation. But now I'm just getting into a deep ramble. Final conclusion of what I'm trying to say. If you know you can go harder, then I think you already know what your next move should be. But plan for me tonight, I've got about 900 calories left. 100 of those calories are coming from protein, so that means I get to have a big bowl of ground beef with some fat-free cheese melted into it. Potentially some oatmeal as well. The instant oatmeal have been really coming in clutch just as a pretty easy and filling carb source. And then get a good night's rest for tomorrow's chest day. And I'm already getting I mean, it's a given, but I'm already getting excited for when I've got a really lean chest pump. Because like I was saying about how my quads are going to get freakier as I get leaner, chest as well. And actually, I think the level of fat that I've got on my chest versus my legs is actually a little bit thicker. So as freaky as my legs might have looked just a second ago in that little posing room, my chest is going to be even more nutty over these next few weeks, because my chest is pretty fibrous. And everybody's is, of course, but it's not always easy to see when you got half an inch of pinchable, this blubber blocking you from seeing those fibers. So that's the plan there. But till then, I got some cardio in the morning I might bring you along with, and tomorrow will be a full day of eating. I promise it, 100%, which I guess by the time I posted this video, we'll be already like halfway through that full day of eating. So I can just write in the description of this one, like, am I doing it or am I not? Like, did I accidentally lie to you about it? But no, I will. So that'll be, won't be the longest one either. I mean, the full day of eatings when I'm bulking up end up being much longer because there's just physically more food. With this one, it's only going to be breakfast, which is like a late, like 11 o'clock breakfast. Lunch-ish, more like a late lunch. Like what would be I guess second lunch almost. A post-workout meal and then like a before-bed meal. I've kind of been doing like a 4-meal-a-day type situation with a little bit of snacks in between, which I do count those calories. Those do not just fall through the cracks. But that'll be tomorrow. That'll be a quick one. Nice little chest and a full day of eating. I'll see if I can get some fancy cooking B-roll. Well, I guess we'll see tomorrow. But until then, get some sleep. And if you're working out right now, I know that you can do one more peg on that pec deck, and I think you know that too, right? So, look, man, if I know you know, and you know I know, then you better make that a crazy ass, not only working set, but also drop set, Derek. I wonder if there's a Derek doing pec deck right now watching this. Likelihood is low, but not zero. So until then, I'll see you for chest.